contests. I entered the Yale Younger Poets. I entered every contest there was for 10 years of writing, and I won some minor things, but publishing here and there, but nothing for a full book. So a friend of mine got sick and tired of it, and he ended up paying for my book done. And so I wanted it to be all thematic, and so I called it The Bird Artist, because I'd written a poem called Bird Artist. And so I tried to include flight or things like that in it. Flight, birds, all the things people write about, I guess. And I thought I would start with living in the body of a firefly. Cotton-mouthed, hungover, I wake up in my sooty dress, somehow ashamed to be seen in the utter waste of daylight. The barbecue with all those mint juleps was intense, but I strayed too long on the edge of glass. I longed for a quiet train trestle, wood and paint chipping off, not those city lights where I am one of millions. I'm not fooled by the low murmurings of the river, cattails to luxuriate in, but danger in the deep-throated baritones of frogs. Damselflies are entirely self-involved and bossy, known to eat out their own behinds. Never mind, there's safety in numbers. A neighbor has an easy split in a porch screen, and as I'm on a tear of wild nights before I die, I've set my sights on their cathedral ceiling. In the sway of tall grasses, his youngest cups her hands around me to pray. I am coveted in the moist chapel of fingers. Tonight, I'll hang around until they are all half-witted drowsy. I'll skitter down to her favorite blanket, where she'll wish upon me like I am the last star falling, the last creature on earth. My first poem, actually, that was published of any importance was a children's poem. And it was published in the Cricket magazine, and then it was published in a textbook. And the only other people there was Maya Angelou and Robert Louis Stevenson. And my father was a Teamster. So they had just had the president's inauguration, and Maya Angelou had spoken. And so my father went around for 2 years, and he said, "You know that poet Angelo? You know Angelo. Angelo is a famous poet. He's Italian. Angelo." Anyway, he found out, he called me up 3 years after this story, and he said, "Did you know Maya Angelou was a black woman?" I'm like, "Yeah." Okay. My brother died early of colon cancer, so he was 45, and this was an early published poem called For My Brother, a year after his death. Last night, alone, I thought of old souls hiding like bumblebees among clover, and the moon studying me winked, and hearing my heartbeat blew a kiss. So of course when you appear, sly shadow made of wings, in moonlight among valentine leaves, we gather lilac in armfuls, in bunches. Then you are gone to whomever has parted us, and you attend to whatever old souls attend to. Sunrise, the whispers of trees, while I attend to filling all the vases in the house with moonlight with you. This is called Secrets, and one of my favorite poets in this whole world is W.S. Merwin. I met him and I felt like I was in the presence of someone holy. And I told him at the time, it was the same time I met Robert Hass, and I said, "I know nothing about poetry, but you're supposed to be really very good." And so he signed a book and he put a little fox on it for me. And since that time, I've been published a few times and written poems about him. And for his 80th birthday, they mailed one of my poems to him. So I doubt he remembers back to that conversation. But this is called Secrets from W.S. Merwin. A pile of windfall apples becomes a fox, lying nose and tail, a sentinel for memory, as the late sun turns its fur into rusty barbed wire. We've traveled for days. I've told you before about these mountain roads, about the man who lived in a shack, who borrowed water, fried me a plate of catfish for my Halloween treat. I called him Uncle Charlie, but he wasn't any relation of mine. The night we got caught swimming, there was another one who wore a hood, leafy and torn, who watched with particular interest while I wrung out my undershirt, scrubbed my skin pink before we sat down to supper, and I was forced to eat what was good enough for them. What I thought I had left, I kept finding again, a pile of hoods in our attic hat, left behind by the man, and bleached white as bones. Clippings of the pineys and the baby who had been stolen. We find a fox lying nose to tail, a sentinel for memory. Sun glinting, its fur rusty, and I tell you with lips bruised like windfall apples, I can't stay here. Me with my old coat mended so neatly, where I had sewn secrets into its pockets. Me and my little girl's voice who tells you a story with lips that are only slightly torn. I did a lot of poems in a sonnet format, meaning 14 lines, but not necessarily rhyme. And in fact, people that have given me some awards for my poetry call them rhyme sonnets and Byro sonnets, but people that are true sonneteers get really pissed off when people call them sonnets. And that's okay, I don't really care. I think it's hard enough. I did 10 or so bird sonnets, you know, and I think it's hard enough condensing it to 14 lines, never mind in rhyme. So this is a couple of those. This is called Arrival. Long afterwards, I knew she had entered my house, not as a scavenger, a buzzard, or a gull, but as a wagtail. She cocked her head and studied me as I hung blue sheets on the line. The silence and fluttering I'd loved as a child had polished her lustrous yellow. Lot's wife could be dissolved into a night of salty stars, but what to do with her? In feverish August, I willed snowflakes on my skin to erase the summer heat. I warned her to leave us for exotic Africa, chanted in name, as idle sunshine buttered her wings. I preened myself to prepare for my late migration from jealousy to song.